So when you picture Croatia, what exactly pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's that gorgeous, sun-drenched walled city of Dubrovnik. The ultimate Game of Thrones filming location, right? But what if I told you this tiny Adriatic country actually birthed things you and I use literally every single day? We're about to completely shatter that tourist-only assumption.
I gotta admit, I fell into this trap myself. We look at a map, see Croatia, and just picture a beautiful vacation spot or a fantasy TV backdrop. But the reality? Croatia's footprint on the modern world is absolutely massive, and it's been hiding in plain sight. It's an incredible hub of everyday inventions that quietly shaped how we all live.
For instance, think about your standard boardroom or wedding fashion. Have you ever actually wondered where your necktie came from? It's such a universal piece of clothing today, but it didn't just magically appear out of thin air. It actually started out as a highly specific military fashion statement.
The history here is so fascinating. Back in the 17th century, Croatian mercenaries fighting in France wore these really distinctive knotted scarves around their necks. Well, the French absolutely loved the style and adopted it, calling it a cravat. And guess what? That is literally just a French corruption of the word Croat, meaning Croatian. So yeah, the French didn't invent the necktie. They borrowed it from the Croatians. The country is actually so proud of this that they celebrate their very own World Tie Day.
But Croatia's influence goes way beyond our closets. Take the electrical system that powers our entire modern world, alternating current. Every single time you plug your phone into the wall or just flip on a light switch, you are relying directly on a Croatian connection. That connection goes all the way back to 1856. That's the year the legendary Nikola Tesla was born. And he wasn't from some bustling famous metropolis. He was born in the small village of Smiljan, right there in modern-day Croatia. One of the greatest minds in human history, the guy who shaped our power grid, started exactly there.
Okay, speaking of hidden global systems, let's jump back in time. Imagine it's the 14th century and the plague is completely ravaging Europe. How in the world did an independent republic manage to protect itself back in 1377?
40. I really want you to let that number sink in. 40 days. That was the sheer amount of time travelers and merchants were forced to sit in complete, total isolation before they could even step foot inside the city of Dubrovnik.
And here's how that translates to us today. 40 days in Italian is quarantina. Dubrovnik literally invented the mandatory isolation system that we now call quarantine. Over 600 years ago, they created a vital public health concept that the entire world still relies on to this day.
And you know what? Their influence doesn't stop at health. It reaches right into global law enforcement. Think about the main system we use to identify and catch criminals all over the world, the fingerprint classification system.
Yep, pioneered by a Croatian. A man named Ivan Vucetich, born on the island of Hvar, created the very first fingerprint classification system used by police back in the late 19th century. Literally every criminal caught by a fingerprint since then owes their capture to a guy from a beautiful island in the Adriatic.
All right, shifting gears from global systems to some of the most fascinating geographic oddities you'll ever see. Take a look at the number 20. Any guesses on what that represents?
It's almost unbelievable, but 20 to 30 people is the typical population of Hum. It's this tiny hilltop village in the Croatian region of Istria. It holds an official Guinness World Record for the smallest town in the world. It has a church, a bar, a community center, and, well, that's it. That's the whole shebang.
But from the world's smallest town, we instantly jump to Europe's absolute deepest history, 8,000.
If I asked you to name the oldest continuously inhabited city in Europe, you'd probably guess Athens, right? Makes sense. But the actual title belongs to Vinkovci. It's a city in eastern Croatia with an incredible 8,000-year history of continuous human settlement. And most of us have never even heard of it.
Then you have Ludbreg in northern Croatia, which claims to be the exact geographical center of the world. They base this on some highly specific cartographic math. Now, whether you fully buy into those calculations or not, it's amazing, because they built a chapel right on the spot. It actively draws pilgrims from all over the globe who just want to stand in the literal center of the earth.
Okay, time for a little pop culture trivia. Where do Disney's most famous spotted dogs come from? We all grew up watching the movies, but how often do you actually stop to think about the name of those dogs?
The answer is hiding right in the name. The Dalmatian takes its name directly from the Dalmatia region of Croatia's Adriatic coast. That's where the breed is believed to have originated. So those iconic black and white dogs we all know and love, They're linked to a very specific, beautiful stretch of Croatian coastline.
And right along that same coast is one of the most surreal cultural oddities you'll ever experience. It's called the Sea Organ in Zadar. Beneath these simple marble steps that lead right into the Adriatic, there's a series of pipes. They channel the actual wave energy to produce continuous musical chords. It's an instrument played by the sea itself. Oh, and fun fact, Alfred Hitchcock once called the sunset right there in Zadar the most beautiful in the entire world.
Which brings us to the staggering cultural weight of this country. 14. That is the number of UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage designations Croatia holds today.
We're talking about incredibly specific, beautiful traditions here. Intricate lace making, traditional wooden toy carving, and a really unique style of klapa singing. As we've seen throughout this explainer, this small country's cultural footprint is disproportionately huge compared to the rest of the continent.
Just think about everything we've covered. This is a single country where the necktie, the quarantine, the fingerprint system, and one of the world's greatest inventors all originated. The sheer scale of Croatia's contributions is absolutely mind-blowing, especially when you realize it's all squeezed into a place most folks only know as a fantasy television set.
So the real takeaway here is a total reframing of how we view this nation. Croatia isn't just some quiet, beautiful corner of Europe for a summer trip. It is a small country with an outsized, massive footprint on the modern world we navigate every single day.
Which leaves us with a pretty provocative thought. If a country this small gave us the electrical grid, the concept of quarantine, fingerprints, and the necktie, what other small countries are quietly running the world you live in? I highly encourage you to look a little differently at the map. You just never know what massive history is hiding in plain sight.